off with that. Um, Basically, this is for the Black excellence and culture, the good and the bad. Um, I was actually just walking today, and it hit me hard as everything, and I noticed that I was kind of like preaching more so, somewhat, but um, I hate when that happens. Um, because of course I don't want to be preaching to people, because I mean that's not my job. But um, nonetheless, there were for I can't talk now. There were a few things that were on my mind, and one thing that is gonna be with the Black Excellence and Culture show is basically going to be talking about different things related to the Black community, or the African American community. So I had a few things that I was wanting to discuss with you guys, get your view on, get your opinion on, and everything. Don't judgment can't be cast. Okay, so with that being said, the subject for tonight, as if you can't read, of course, but the subject tonight is gonna be religion in regards to the Black community, because I had a few questions about it, and a few things that I wanted to get your opinion on. So with that there being said, first of all, let me just say, do not hold it against me. Don't hold it what I'm gonna say, don't take it to heart. This is my opinion on stuff, and everybody is entitled to it, and I want to know what yours is. So in regards to the Black community, I guess we'll just start it off with this here. So I'm gonna give you three things, and we're gonna walk away, or basically let it flow from there. So for one, and I do know that Easter is tomorrow, and we have been taught and brought up that on Good Friday, Jesus went to the cross, and hung there and died. And then as far as Easter Sunday goes, he rose from the dead on the third day, to give us new life and new meaning. But my question for you is, for one, as for those of us that are watching anyway, that are of the African American community, three things. For one, and this can be confirmed, the Bible was written by man. So there are a lot of books that were, not mentioned or even made a part of the Bible. And, it was actually a whole kind of like congregant, pretty much. They got together and decided which books were going to be in the Bible and which weren't. Also, so that's subject number one. That's topic number one. Number two is that, they had the discussion as well that, Jesus was man, and man, actually decided whether or not he was going to be considered as immortal or divine. So like, we were taught that Jesus is the Son of God and he was already divine, and he's a spirit, God in the flesh and all this. But it has been many different things where people have been going back and forth and been like, hey, Jesus was made immortal by man, and therefore that's how he was depicted in the Bible, which that goes right back to it, that the Bible was written by man. Because if you didn't know, there were a few books, I'm not even sure how many there were, but I know there were a few that were written by women that weren't even made a part of the Bible, because they wanted to make it so that women were considered as more so servants, or what's the word I'm looking for? They were meant to serve, not in the dominant sense. So their books weren't put in the Bible. So like I said, so we got the books were made, the Bible was made by man, that Jesus was decided whether or not he was supposed to be immortal or divine, or if he was just a regular man. And then the third thing is that there were, before we were brought over, our ancestors anyway, as slaves, the African American community had their own religion and their own gods that they worshiped. And since we have been brought over here, the religion of sorts has been Christianity. Like, we were conformed to believe in that. That's what we had to believe in, that there's only one God, and that basically Christianity was the way to go, and that there are no other religions above that. There's been plenty of things where Jesus and other people have been made to be considered as a white man. Jesus is white and all this other stuff, but it clearly states, and yet again this was written by man, that Jesus is black. Sorry to break that to you, but let's think about it. So for one, if you are, if you have any common sense, or you've researched it, whether you've researched it or not, actually, anyone should know that the world itself basically stemmed from Africa. Everybody was born there. Everybody basically grew from Africa. Okay, so before the world was formed as it is now, with the different continents and everything, the continents stem from Africa. Everybody is a descendant of Africa, of an African. And yes, we all have different skin tones, different skin colors and everything of that nature, but Africa is on the equator. Okay, this is where life stemmed from. And as the world changed, and continents spread apart and things of that nature, man spread as well, went their separate ways. And due to the way that the sun was hitting their skin and everything like that, pigment and all this good stuff, everybody just got different skin tones. And I'm not sure who came up with it, but that one person decided to put a label on the different types of colors of people. And so now you have the Native Americans, you have the white people, you have the Caucasians, you have the African Americans, you got the Chinese, you got the Japanese. Everybody has their own particular sort of race or culture and everything. And the reason that the world is in so much turmoil now is because one, race in particular is trying to make it so that they are superior over all the other races, and basically that's why we are where we are today. um that's why there's all this war and all this famine and things like that going on. So um and I mean, with this COVID-19 or coronavirus, whatnot, I still say that, this was a man-made thing. This is basically the newer version of genocide. This is a modern-day genocide, created to basically kill off, certain races, or make certain races, hate it more than others, or things of that nature. So therefore, they die off. They don't have to be bothered with it. Just like they saying that, now it came out that, the COVID is killing more black people than, any other race. Why you think that is? It's just centering one particular race? I don't think so. So I'm not believing in it. I don't think that all that mess is real. Okay, yeah, my heart goes out to those that have, passed from it or things of that nature. But, that's just my opinion. This is just a modern day genocide. My heart goes out to those that have, had loved ones that passed. But, personally, I don't know anybody that has had it or that has it. I've had a few people that I know that said that they knew somebody that caught it, or something happened to somebody that they know or whatnot. But, people out there dying from natural causes and everything. But like I said, it's basically STEM right now. They just put this on the TV the other day, which I don't even watch the news anymore, to be honest. Like, I get my news from Facebook or whatnot, because, or, the random articles that, come up from the news on my phone. But it was said that the coronavirus is hitting the black community the hardest, which I find that very ironic. And then too, it's always something that happens in the election year. Like, I mean, come on, people, let's wake up, okay? But anyway, going back to the main topic here, what I want your opinion on is, do you think that if we were not brought over as slaves to work, for the white man, and we were left in Africa with our thoughts and, our, gods and people that we worship and everything? Because, I mean, honestly, listen, it says in the Bible, that there's only one God, but who's to say that, God is not spread out? Like, the Buddhists, have their God. Islam has Allah. Christianity has Jesus. Things of that nature. Everybody has their own name for him, but he's the same person. So it's not like we're worshiping multiple gods. We're worshiping still that one. It's God in many forms. But, two, what do you all think? Do you think that we would still be worshiping our own gods and everything like that? Or would we have switched over to, or conform, to Christianity, because that's what everybody else was doing, like the trend? That's my question for you, because like I said, everything was stemmed from Africa. And that's just like, okay, for instance, they are trying to make everyone that is of African descent, which I've already stated is everybody. White people are just, light-skinned black people. I mean, that's my opinion. Come at me how you want to, take it how you want to. That's what it is. Everybody stemmed from Africa. We just all have our own different skin tones. And, somebody decided to put a label on it one day. But as far as it goes, like I said, they tried to make it that Jesus is white when I don't know how that can be, seeing as how he was born in Middle Eastern, part of the world where there are a lot of us there, a lot of colored people. Colored people. Oh my God, I sound so racist. I'm sorry. There's a lot of black people there. And then too, I don't think that I haven't read about, Jesus being white, but you want him to be. So therefore you depict him to be, and that's what he is. But, if you don't know any better, then you just go with what you know. Some of us are already awoke. So, then, as far as like the Egyptian kings and queens like Nefertiti and, people like that, the pharaohs and all this stuff like that, they are depicting them. If you watch these shows, you don't even have to watch National Geographic. They have this on like, Good Morning America and, all that, on NBC and everything. They actually had it where they brought 3D head of who they claimed was Nefertiti and King Tut on the show, and they said that, we examined her skull that we found, and based upon what it showed here, we did like a genetic 3D image of what she would have looked like, and it depicted her as a white woman. Clearly Egypt yet again is in the middle of Africa, so how is she depicted as a white person? I will never know. It's right there on the equator, and the further away that people got from the equator, that's how, like I said, the pigment changed because of the way the sun was hitting them. It didn't hit them as hard as it does in Africa because it's on the equator. So therefore you have a lighter skin tone. That does not necessarily mean that you are of a different race. You are the same as us. We are all the same, and when we figure that out, I promise you the world will be a better place. And people are saying nowadays that, these are the end of times because of how we relate to each other and how we see each other. And it's just, so much war, and people mad at people, or trying to put this other person, this other group of people down. But who are you to judge? Like, granted, I'm not an atheist or anything. I'm not saying that, God isn't real, Jesus isn't real, whatever. Or, not to listen to the Bible. But like I said, the Bible was written by man, and the books that we read were depicted by man. They say, I don't know how true it is, that Jesus was determined to be immortal and divine by man. Like, it's just so many different things in there. And too, the biggest conspiracy of it all that I really want to do a little bit more research on and find out is, they say, scholars that study religion and everything, they say that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were in a relationship, and they ended up having a child. Which, how cool would that be to find out that you were a descendant of Jesus Christ? That's supposed to be that was the savior of the world. How cool would that be that you found out, if you were to find out that you were a descendant of Jesus Christ? And they say that, and I actually want to look at it again. If you look at the picture of the Last Supper, they say that the person on the right of Jesus that's kind of leaning away from him is supposed to be Mary Magdalene. And as we know, the Last Supper was the supper before Jesus was crucified, and they say that she was pregnant, and the Knights Templar are the one that actually hid her so that she could safely have Jesus's baby, because otherwise they would have killed her. Which some people say that's not true, some people say it is, but I do know for a fact that the Knights Templar, and you can read that up, you can look at it, the Knights Templar is a real thing. They are real people that were disbanded back in like whenever, AD. Like, and they were supposed to be the keepers basically of Mary Magdalene. So like, who's to say that that isn't true as well? Like, they said that, they were joined at the hip, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, in the Last Supper picture, and you can look at this yourself. Like I said, I'm gonna go back and look at it again, but they said they were joined at the hip and they formed a chalice, which is like this. Looks like this. Like, and with that, they were saying that women are equal to men because she was seated at the right hand of Jesus. And is that not what they say when, we go to heaven, that we're to be seated on the right hand of God the Father Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth? Is that not how it goes? So it's just a lot of things that's in that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but what's your view on that? Like, comment below your opinion in regards to religion, because you know that we as African Americans have are very strict when it comes to religion. I mean, we're the it's made fun of and joked about all the time, as far as we go to church at 8 o'clock or whenever, and we don't get out for the next few days and things of that nature, or until that night, which is true. I mean, I've been there, done that, been to plenty churches and everything. I always did that with my grandma, like always. But like, we're at church all hours of the night and all the time. It's always something new that's going on throughout the week, so we're there. Even down to prayer. You have to have your prayer time all the time. If you don't talk to God, there's something wrong with you. You need prayer. If you're black and Lord forbid, don't be gay, like, you're going to hell, you need prayer. Like, let me pray the spirits away from you. Or like, that's a whole nother subject in itself, and we're going to talk about that too at a later time. But like, you need Jesus if something is wrong with you. You're depressed, pray about it. You need Jesus. You don't have any money, you don't have a car, you don't have this, you don't have that, pray about it. Jesus will help. And like I said, I'm not saying that he won't, you know what I'm saying, because been there, done that. I pray often and make sure that I'm doing what it is that I need to do to be right with God. And I'm not saying that there's not a heaven, there's not a hell, but my thing is, with all this centered around religion, how do you feel about that? Like, do you honestly think that we would have conformed or been Christians as we are now if we had not been brought over here and made to kind of buy into this religion as it is? Or would we have still worshipped our own gods? Because there is an article, and I promise you, I'm a locate it here again and post it below. But there's an article that really got me thinking, where the person in the article is stating that if there is the so-called white Jesus that, you know, we pray to and we ask to deliver us and all this, that, and the third, like, do you honestly believe that we would have prayed for over 400 years, just black people as you know, a culture? Do you really think that we would have prayed for over 400 years before Jesus heard us, or God heard us and then delivered us from enslavement? Like, I mean, they made a lot of valid points. Like, we were praying to a God that just basically, like, it was falling on deaf ears. Like, and I'm just sitting there like, you know, when we, based upon, you know, the movies and other things like that they do actually stick to the truth with, you know, we as black people, we had our own little establishments, you know, our little businesses and things like that. Like, we were a prosperous community. Black people were the kings and queens of Egypt. The pharaohs and Pharisees and all these people, we were kings and queens on our own accord. And then here comes the white man that comes along, and all of a sudden we're less than. All of a sudden we're beneath everybody else. And we've been stereotyped so much, and our brains have been rewired so much to actually believe this stuff that, you know, well, we're not going to be anything other than a fast food worker. We're not going to be able to do anything outside of working in the kitchen. You know, we're not really going to excel from here as far as, you know, having our own business and all this other stuff. Like, we're not going to be able to leave that legacy for our children as the white man would, and leave behind money. We're not going to be born into money and things of that nature. But all of that stem from the white man putting that in our minds, and we started to believe it. So therefore we don't think that we are able to. And only those that are now woke to the situation and what's actually going on, how we're being killed off and everything, because we're considered as a threat somewhat. If we actually knew our worth and who we were and whose we were, and went back to the times of the past where we actually meant something and knew our worth and knew what it was that we were capable of, then we would be much better off and way more ahead than we are right now. Like, the stereotype is, and you can type this into Google right now, put in a black man, and I promise you, one of the first few pictures is gonna be a black guy, and they're gonna be so-called dressed as a thug with a bandana or a do-rag or some big clothes or something to depict some type of stereotype that we are nothing more than thugs and drug dealers. But if you put in, or even put in black families, you'll only see that it's a mother and her child. It's rare. It's extremely rare that we see a full black family with the mother, a father, and the child. And that's because of the justice system. They locking us up because why? Yet again, they want to break us as people, as human beings. And as long as they have that control over us and are able to control us in such a way that, we think that, okay, well, nah, I have to be dependent on this person, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to make it anywhere. Like, as long as we have that mindset, they have us. Like, we have to understand our worth and who it is that we are. Like, otherwise we're not gonna be anywhere. So, I mean, do you always want to be the stereotype? Or do you want to be able to be that culture that made a difference? Like, this generation, I feel bad for us because all we think about pretty much is TikTok videos or, watching other kids playing and on our phones and, oh, well, I can't get ahead without doing something illegal, so let me go sell these drugs, or let me go make this band real quick, or all I'm good at is, rapping or singing or dancing or playing ball or some type of sport. That's the only way that I'm gonna be able to get ahead. And honestly, it's sad, but that is one of the main ways that we're able to get ahead, is either in the music industry, and we get ahead that way. But yet again, just talking about drugs, guns, and hoes and killing people and all this stuff, whereas you have those few that say that they're gonna be different, and those are the ones that become our black doctors and our black nurses, our black teachers, our black lawyers. Like, something, not saying that playing sports and everything is not worthwhile, but something that's gonna leave a legacy for us as black people. Like, those children, those babies that are wanting to become entrepreneurs and things like that, we have to be able to lift them up and tell them that yes, you can be this, not shut them out or shut them down and tell them, oh, well, you're trying to do this, you're trying to get ahead, or the way that you talk white, like, why do you talk like that? And oh, well, you ain't gonna be able to do anything outside, no, you ain't smart enough to do XYZ. Like, the more that we continue to do that and belittle our kids that way, the more that we're gonna be in the same place, while Robert and them are over there, building legacies. And, oh, well, I work in my dad's auto shop, I work in my dad's farm, I work in my mom's whatever. Like, if you notice, there are a lot more white people that are born into money, or either if their parents pass, they are well off, like millions sometimes. Like, oh, okay, well, my dad left me, a $10 million trust or whatever. Or, hey, when I turn 18, I have a trust in my name that I can start living off of. Or, I can go ahead and start my own business, or I can, go to college and get a good education. I'll still have this money behind me and all this other stuff. When is the last time that you personally, or do you even know anyone personally that has a trust fund in the black community? Do you know anybody in the black community that is just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, nah, if my parents were to pass, or whoever it is that raised you were to pass away, that they would have money? 9 times out of 10, if anything happens to black people, you'll all of a sudden you'll see the the GoFundMe's, or well, I can't do this, so I need your help for, or, even if we do get to that point where we can establish our own businesses, and this is another subject that we're going to talk about later on, but if we do get to the point where we can establish our own businesses and, want to move forward with that, 9 times out of 10 the business fails within the first year or two, if that, because we as black people have been conformed, or again rewired, not to even support ourselves. We are in competition with ourselves. So if we start a business or whatnot, like let's say you're a hairdresser, all of a sudden, okay, I do hair, I have my own salon, and then your friends, who are the ones that are supposed to support you, come out the woodworks and, okay, well, yeah, I'll support you, but can I get a discount? Can I get this for free? Can you slap me this? Like, okay, I don't have it right now, but I'll get it to you later. Like, all of this and everything, like, what makes my business different from any other place that you go to? Why is it that you expect me to give you a discount when you don't get discounts from everything else? Like, are you able to go into Walmart or something like that? And yes, Walmart is owned by white people. Like, are you able to go into Walmart and buy like $200 worth of stuff and then be like, oh, you know what, I ain't even got it right now, I'll hit you when I get it, when my next paycheck hits, that's when I'll like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, our business and things like that, whatever it is that you come up with, whether you are a mechanic or an entrepreneur, as far as like a recording studio like me, or a hairdresser, or anything of that nature, like whatever your niche may be, if it's making music, or if it's making plates, or whatever it is that you do, why is what other people do more important? And why is it that we can't support each other? Because you never know what the purpose of somebody's business or whatever it is that they do is for. Like, I know some people right now who it's just children that are trying to run this business. They're trying to get their foot in the door so that they can make a living for themselves. No, they're not famous. No, they're not out there in the streets and everything. Like, they're legit trying to make something of themselves so they can have their own money. But if people don't support them and don't buy from them, or think that, hey, because we're friends, I should get a discount. Because we're family, I should get a discount, or I should get this for free. Like, if that was the case, we gonna be broke before we even start. Like, I didn't get this degree so that I can work for free. I didn't get this degree so that I can work at a discounted rate. Like, we have people that we have to pay too. Like, if you have a business and you have employees, you have to pay those employees. Where do you think that's coming from? Do you think that's coming from the discounts that people are giving us? Like, do you think that that's coming from the government that has turned away so many numerous black people for trying to get a loan to establish something? Like, 9 times out of 10 black people don't even have life insurance. So when they pass, they don't have anything to lean back on. Like, and 9 times out of 10, it is sad to say, 9 times out of 10, if somebody dies in the black community, it is a debt that is left over. Not a trust fund, not anything that, your family can live off of. Like, nah, that however much, if you did have life insurance, is going towards the funeral and paying off any debts that you had left over. Like, we have to do better. We just have to do better. If you know better, you do better, and we definitely need to do better. That's the main reason for this show is to empower us as black people, so we'll know our worth and who it is that we are, so that we can once again become those kings and queens and stop being in competition with each other. But I'm sorry, I'm ranting again. That's me. I'm definitely sorry. Okay, let's get back on subject. Answer me this yet again, and answer below. As far as religion and believing, in God and heaven and hell and Jesus being immortal and all this other stuff, do you or do you not think that if we were not brought over here, that we would be Christians or be so gun-ho to go to church as we are? Like, and then too, and I got into this, like, well, I ain't gonna say I got into it with them, but I had a really good debate with my girlfriend's godmother regarding tithes and offering, which yet again is a part of the Bible. I'm gonna start calling it the man-made Bible. We're gonna say that. In regards to tithes and offering, and this actually was brought to my attention by a coworker of mine. As far as tithes and offering go, who and where does it say that the tithes or the offerings of such have to be monetary? Like, why can't your 10% be in service to God's people? Like, why can't your 10% be towards helping somebody or giving of yourself or your time? Like, for instance, it also says in the man-made Bible that, Jesus was speaking to his disciples and he told them, hey, well, I thank you for, when you clothed me and you fed me and, took care of me when I was sick. And they were like, when did we do all of this? And he was like, when you fed your brother hungry on the street, or when you fed me on the streets, when you gave me water when I was thirsty, when you aided me and I didn't have a home, but you gave me shelter. Like, you were helping me. You know what I'm saying? Like, who said that the offerings for tithes and offering have to be monetary? Now, I'm not saying that, not to pay your tithes and offerings, but I'm saying, like, yet again, in the black community, you basically are shunned for the most part. Like, if you don't have anything to put in the collection plate, or, Lord forbid, don't go to a church where you have to walk up to the offering plate and put your money in there and you just touch the plate. I'm sorry, God, I don't have it today. Like, how am I going to give? Okay, let's put it like this. Would you rather me give you my last $10 where I could use that to eat for the week? Let's just say that. Would you rather me give my last $10 to the church and starve for the week, when there are churches that are out there that are, I'm sorry, churches, a place of worship and all that stuff like that, but it's also a business. So when I give you my last $10 and I don't eat for the week, but I have to make the decision whether or not to pay tithes and offering or pay my light bill, and I decide to pay the church, but I go back to ask the church for help after giving of myself and my tithes and my offerings for years upon years, and you turn me away. What was the purpose? What was I giving you? And yes, when I say I'm giving you, I'm giving to the church. Like, and and I have a lot of pastors and reverends on my page, and I would love to get your input as well, because like I said, I'm not saying not to give of yourself or your tithes and offerings, and give into the church to help build and expand the church, and be able to reach out to people more and all this. But like, what is it if I were to pay into the church and I need something back? Let's say I fell into hard times and I didn't have everything and I needed the assistance of the church, and you turned me away when I was a lifelong member. Like, but yet, the pastor's house is being paid for. The pastor's lights aren't off. The pastor's car has gas in it while I'm on E. Like, things like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, certain people get certain privileges and are treated better than others, or either are looked at a certain way, or even not even acknowledged in the church when they've done more for the church than anybody. Like, it's so much that goes on in the black church, and not a lot of people know what goes on behind closed doors. But these are just some of the things that we are wondering about. Like, yet again, where in the Bible does it say that your tithes and offerings that are given can only be monetary? Like, it can't be in service to God and his people. Like, I could be doing community service and helping the homeless, helping to feed the homeless, or maybe one day I just decided to take a few $100s and buy a few meals or burgers or whatever and pass it out to the homeless, or either go to the store and get blankets, or get book bags and fill them up with whatever the kids may need for them to be able to go to school, because we don't have enough funding to provide that stuff. Who's saying that is not my service? Like, how are you able to look down at me because I can't afford to put $1 into the plate every Sunday? You know what I'm saying? Like, where does it say that is the standard and that's what you're supposed to do? Because I don't know where that is. I don't know of anyone that hasn't bought into the church. And I know a few churches where they have their congregations to put in a certain amount. Like, they split you up by the amount that it is you can give. I feel like that's not fair. And that's like, I don't even know the words to say right now. Like, but the ones that put, the people in categories, by what it is that they can bring to the table. Like, Lord, if you have $10, you come and stand in this line to give to the church. If you have $20, come stand in this line. What about 50? Do I hear 100? Like, people that split them up like that, first of all, like, do you think about how you're making that person feel that doesn't have anything? Like, you don't know a person's situation. You don't know a person's predicament at that point in time. So why are you categorizing this? Like, and why is it that sometimes those lifelong members in the church that have been there every day on the deacon board, an elder, whatever, Been there, as soon as the church opens till it closes, every day, faithfully, and they don't even get recognition. Like, I will never understand it. Why is that? Why is it that we are taught to, you have to do certain things in order to get by? Like, you don't believe in Jesus? Like, let me pray for you so you can know God and have him in your heart, because otherwise you're sinning. Like, I'm not sinning. I can be, I can know Jesus and God just as well as you do. That doesn't mean that I'm a sinner, because I don't think about or believe in Jesus the way that you do. I don't have to pray to Jesus out loud every day. I don't have to have a prayer time every day to speak to God. Like, I don't have to pay money in order to speak to God or have a place to worship. Like, you can worship anywhere that you go. They say that the church is the temple and the temple is your body. If you didn't know that, you take God with you everywhere that you go. So why is it that I have to do all this stuff at church? Like, if I don't go to church as often as I should, or I don't do XYZ in the church, or I don't put money into the collection plate, or like, you're not doing your part at the church, so why are you here, pretty much? Like, why is it that black churches feel like they can look down on people like that? Like, and especially, I'll use this as an example as well. Those women, maybe you can be, you can be of age. Like, let's just say you're 18. You're grown at that point. Like, you happen to get pregnant, but you're not married. They look at you some type of way. You got married. You got a baby out of wedlock, and you are looked at some type of way for that at church. Like, they judging you for that. Where's your husband? Lord knows, because don't say where's your wife. Oh, that's worse. Especially being a female. You're a female and you're a lesbian? We don't have those people here. You're gay? We don't have those people here. That's blasphemy. That's sinning against God. Why are you here? Like, those people, that's one of the main reasons why a lot of LGBT don't go to church, because we're criticized for who it is that we decide to love, which is the same as any heterosexual couple, but because we choose to like the same sex, we're looked at it a different way. And some churches will respect the fact that, or allow LGBT leaders, and some won't. Like, places there are places where, being gay, you're not supposed to be out in the open, because you could be killed for it. It's considered as a sin or a dishonor to God, and you could be killed for that. Like, why is it that people in the church feel so high and mighty, like they're held at another standard, like they're up here and everybody else that has their own opinions are down here and not worthwhile? Like, you cannot do anything against the church or anything that would dishonor the church or whatever without being shunned or turned away from the church. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, Yet again, you don't know the situation, and I'm pretty sure this goes for any church, not just black churches, but mainly black churches. We are held to a certain standard. If you don't meet that standard, then you can't be a part of this. You can't be a part of this religion. Like, you can't be a part of this church. Like, if we don't do what is acceptable to you, as far as the way that we live our lives, or the way that we carry ourselves, or, okay, well, I had a baby out of wedlock, or I didn't pay my tithes and offerings for like a month, or whatever the case may be, you looked at a certain way in churches. I will never understand that. Like, what makes you so much holier than thou that you can look at me a certain way? Like, you have your own skeletons in your closet just like I do. No sin is greater than the other. Like, how are you able to look down upon me and cast judgment on me when you need to be judging yourself? Like, the church is the most controversial and contradicting and hypocritical place that you can go. Not saying that, stop going to church, because, I mean, basically that's why the world is in turmoil now, because there isn't enough God here. Like, I saw a post the other day, and it like, I was like, man, that was deep. Like, it was a quote from a little boy that apparently, like, Jesus came to him, and he was like, it was a picture of, Sandy Hooks was in the background, and the little boy would ask God, or ask Jesus, Jesus, why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you, why didn't you protect us? Why didn't you save us? And Jesus simply said, because I'm not allowed in the schools anymore, remember? Like, I was like, man, that was like deep as everything. Like, I'm not allowed in the schools anymore, so therefore I can't protect them. Like, they have banned prayer in the schools. They've banned talking about or speaking about God or any type of religion in schools. They stopped that prayer and talking about God in workplaces. They've stopped it in, public places, libraries, schools, anywhere that is of meaning. They've stopped prayer and reaching out to God and speaking about God. And we don't do this in these schools and this, that, and the third. But if we had more prayer and more speaking to God and telling them about our problems and asking him for his mercy and to help us in our time of need, then we would be way better off than we are now. But those are my questions to you. I'm gonna go ahead and head off here because I feel like I'm ranting now. But my questions to you are, and I'm gonna read your comments later, because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a few people that will post later on. But for one, question number one, do you believe if we were not brought over, African Americans were not brought over as slaves and were able to keep our same religion and beliefs that we had while we were living in Africa, do you believe that we would have conformed to Christianity, or would we be better off with our own religion that we had started off with. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, where in the Bible does it state that your tithes and offerings have to be monetary, but they cannot be of service, like you doing a service on behalf or in the name of Christ? So that is the question there. And then question number 3 is, why is it that people in church, and mainly in the black churches, why is it that you are feeling like you are holier than thou, or set a certain standard for everybody, and if they don't meet your expectations, then automatically they are sinners or not holier? They are not worthy, of being a part of the church, and so you shun them or either send them away. Those are my 3 questions that I want you to ask and want you to answer, and ask yourself, your family members, or whoever. Like, just let this be something that you think about in the back of your mind. Like, why is that? You know? But of course, we'll talk more on this here later. Again, this is Black Excellence Television. It's Black Excellence and Culture, the good and the bad. And today's topic was on religion in the black community. The show is supposed to be every Wednesday at 8 p.m. But again, this is an impromptu day, and just due to a few things, we may or may not be on Wednesday. But if we are, I would love to hear your views and opinions. If you have any questions, concerns, anything that you want to talk about on the show, feel free to, post on our page. We're on every platform, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as at Black Excellence TV. That's BLK Excellence TV. And we'll make sure to write back to you, or you can email us if that's easier for you, or of course message us on the page. But you can email us at blackexcellencetv@gmail.com, and we'll make sure to respond, let you know that we did get your question or hear your concern, and we will definitely bring it up on the next show. But until then, it was nice talking to you. I appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight, and look forward to our next conversation. But until then, again, my name is Shay. I love all of you. Be safe.